Hola mi gente, Alba aquí para traerles libros y algunos en español desde Puerto Rico. Hello people, how are you? Uh, I just want to make a quick video about a book that I finished reading yesterday, and I've spent a good part of today writing notes in my reading log, which is what I do when the book is taken out of the library and I have to return it. The book is called The Natural Way of Things, and I was compelled to borrow the book after listening to Heidi's and Shawn's review. They had done a buddy read of this book, and Shawn DNF'd it, and Heidi was appalled. But as I was listening to their review, there were things that resonated with me and compelled me to read this book. And I wanted to check out whether my hunch was correct. I loved this book. And I just want to invite you, the reader, to consider looking at it from another angle. Be a feminist novel talking about women's issues. And what happens in this book is that approximately 10 girls, and they are girls because there is not one who is over 25, and even the jailers, the administrators of this gulag, this compound where they're taken, where many of them abducted and drugged to be taken to this gulag out in the middle of nowhere. Even the administrators, the jailers, do not reach the age of 30. They're just administrator, henchmen, lackeys. So anyway, these girls are forced into hard labor. They've been drugged. They've been degraded. Their heads shaved. And they don't know why. And that's what happens during this novel. And slowly but surely, the situation for them gets worse and worse, and for the administrators also, because the people that they are expecting to come, which is Hardy International, don't come. They don't arrive. This, for me, is symbolic. The book is an allegory. That's just my opinion. And I really enjoyed the character development, especially of the two main protagonists, Yolanda and Verla. And I just want to let you know that that name for me is significant, because Verla in Spanish means ver, see, la, her. See her, verla. And that's a very important point, because these girls become invisible to the outside world. No one sees them, no one knows about them, no one cares about them. The pacing, I enjoyed the pacing of this novel. It starts off in one season. I think I remember it's summer, and it proceeds, I think, during 1 year. And everything that they go through in this gulag during that 1 year. I had a sense after I finished reading this book, of literary fulfillment. It expresses everything. The message that she wants to get across for me in some brilliant and skillful language that really impacts you. I look at this from an intersectional point of view, this book. I don't think the message is misogynistic at all. To the contrary. I also think this is a message that resonates with marginalized and oppressed people and colonized people around the world. Just by the language that she uses, the descriptive language that she uses. Of course, the girls are enslaved. And I think she uses the word girls purposefully because they are not mature women and they are constantly being infantilized and treated as children, as are marginalized and oppressed people around the world. They're treated like children who are not capable of taking care of themselves. I find it significant and meaningful that the people in power, the ones behind this gulag, are invisible and far off and absent, and they don't show up until the very end. And in the meantime, this gulag is administrated by some lackeys. And Heidi described them very well. I took notes on Heidi and Shawn's video. I was so struck by what they had to say. And I just want to invite, I don't want this to be a long video, but I saw some parallels, some very distinct parallels between colonialism and the situation that's described in this novel. And I would invite anybody who wants to continue seeing those parallels to pick up a book on colonialism, be it Albert Memmi. In Spanish, it's called El Retrato de un Colonizado. We read this decades ago. It's a classic. And The Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon. And I'll be talking about this topic when I talk about Jesus Chu Ortiz and his two books on La Mente Colonizada. So one of the points of symbolism for me was how often the girls are referred to as sheep, as animals, but specifically sheep. And why? Because our coat of arms in Puerto Rico since 1511 has been a lamb. And some people, of course, consider that a symbol, a religious symbol, right? A sacrificial lamb. Yeah. But we also know that the lamb can be very easily led to slaughter and led to be shorn. That's just one of the symbols that I resonated with in this novel. And there are many, many, many more. The girls, I don't think the girls could muster up the strength to revolt while they're being enslaved, reduced to hard labor, starved, fed expired and nasty, mucky food, backbreaking labor, as I mentioned before, and so much humiliation and indignity, right? And that was another point. I don't think the girls had the maturity to realize that they could bond together to rebel. The fact that they were young, the fact that they had been fed mentally a diet of TV and reality shows and commercials and food programs didn't prepare them for this situation, and certainly didn't prepare them to unite and to demonstrate solidarity one with the other. And that is certainly something that I see on a daily basis here on the island, that the violence is affected, the violence goes outward horizontally. And we see it every day here in Puerto Rico. There's a crisis in crime. There's a crisis in suicides. There's a domestic violence crisis. Women have been dying at the hands of their lovers and husbands at an alarming rate after Hurricane Katrina and after Promesa, which is the junta that was put in place by Congress and President Barack Obama in 2016. So that question, why don't they bond together to make things better and to free themselves and to have a better life? Well, when you're being bashed left and right every day, it's a little hard to get your bearings, which is what was happening to these girls every single day. It was one shock after another. Read the Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein, and the little book, Battle for Paradise, that she wrote about Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. And you'll get an inkling of what's been happening here. So I recognized many parallels between what was happening in this book and what happens to marginalized and oppressed people, indigenous people around the world. And that's basically all I have to say. I'm going to link Heidi and Shawn's review of their experience with this book and with their buddy read down in the description box below. I have not seen any interviews with the author. I have not read any articles about the author. I'm just talking about my experience with this book. I am going to buy it, be it used, be it new. At some point in the future when I have the money, I'm definitely going to buy this book. I am going to write in it. I'm going to highlight it. I am going to, lo voy a tasajar, como dicen en Puerto Rico. And that's all I wanted to say for today. Take care. I'll see you soon. Adios.